getting in a new relationship when you haven't healed from your previous one. Like, that happens far too often, right? We think whether it's a competition, whether we want to show them that we're over them, or whether we're trying to get a Band-Aid to put over our wound, to put over our hurt. And a lot of people, we get Band-Aid relationships, which means is that we're trying to just forget about the past relationship. We're trying to think that they can heal us, so they give us what we want. They give us the medicine that we need for the time, but it's temporary. And usually what happens is we try to build a relationship with broken pieces. And when you have broken pieces in your relationship, yeah, at first, when the hype is there, it might not show. When the excitement is there, it might not show. But when it rubs off, it will show. That's why you have people who get divorced and get married, then get divorced again, then get married and get divorced again. And they just keep this cycle because they haven't learned how to be by themselves. They haven't learned how to love themselves. They haven't learned how to heal, right? They haven't done none of that. And they get into a new relationship. And sometimes it works. Hey, sometimes it does work. I've seen it happen with people. They get in a new relationship and it worked. But I'm just saying, for the majority, you're not healing. You're not, right? It's a false sense of healing, right? You never dealt with the issues that happened. You just hopped into a new relationship. And I'm going to be honest with you. Healing is a sucky process. It's hard. Learning how to love yourself by being by yourself is hard. Being single is hard. Having voids in your life that are controlling your life is hard. And in these voids, loneliness is a void that controls a lot of people. And what they do is they want to get rid of that void. So they do anything. They settle for anything that doesn't make them lonely. Anything that looks like it, seems like the real thing, seems like it could be good, they take it because they don't want to be alone. They don't like the feeling of loneliness, right? And so I've learned this. Is the quote that I've told you guys like 5 years ago. And it really helped my life and appeared in my life. I say sometimes it takes being perfectly lonely just so God can show you what being perfectly loved feels like. And I learned how to, I always tell myself, of course, if I lost people in my life, it'll hurt, it'll suck. I don't want to lose anybody. But if I did, I know that even though I would be hurt, I would be good because I spent so much time in my life alone, right? I figured out who I am. I built the foundation. I built my faith at that point. I grew closer to God. I understood who I was as a person. I love that person. I love myself, not in an arrogant way, in just a real way. And so that helped complete me as a person. So now I'm complete. Now I can search, or not even search, because I feel like you shouldn't have to search for a relationship. I feel like relationships come. And now I can be the man I need to be. And it's the same thing with you guys. It's like a lot of us, we look for people to complete us. We look for people to heal our broken heart. And that's another thing too. Like a lot of us, we go back to a situation. We try to give we'll give our heart back to the hands that broke it, expecting them to repair it. Right. And that's what I mean on that first one, where you got to stand in the pain. You got to remove yourself from the pain, whatever it may be, because you're not, it's just facts. Just think about it. It's anything in life. If I stand in fire and I say this fire burns and I don't want to be burned, but I stay in fire, I'm going to keep burning. It's just facts, right? So I have to move out the fire. Even though the fire might keep me warm at times, right? The fire might serve a great purpose in my life at times. But for 99%, it's causing me pain. Then forget that 1% of whatever good it's bringing. That 1% is not worth the 99% of pain that it's causing in my life. And a lot of us, we stay in situations because it's comfortable. We would rather stay in a comfortable pain than go seek an unfamiliar peace. And that's just facts. And that's just the human, I don't want to say psyche, but just a human nature. Like we're so afraid to be uncomfortable. Like that's why I teach myself to be uncomfortable every day. Like whether it be working out, whether it be going to try something new, something that I fear. Like I love living outside my comfort zone, because if you teach yourself to be comfortable all the time, you will be afraid to step out on faith. You will be afraid to step away from things that aren't serving you or growing you because you're so afraid of the unknown, right? You're so afraid of it. But like I said, moving on hurts. It involves a little bit of pain, but I would rather experience a temporary pain than stay in a fat, permanent pain with my life. And that's just me. That's just my thought process. So I'm like, okay, I'll go through this, You know, I'll go through this temporary pain. I'll go through this temporary loneliness. I'll go through this temporary, confusion. I'll go through this temporary whatever, because I know in going through this, I'm gonna build myself up. I'm gonna find myself. I'm gonna know my worth. I'm gonna learn these things as I move my life forward. And it might take some time. It might take a year. It might take 2 years. It might take 3. It might take 5 years. But it's worth it than staying in a known pain for the rest of my life. That's gonna destroy my life. That's destructive for my life. And that's how I think. That's not how everybody thinks. And like I said, this isn't a message to tell you that things can't be fixed. Things can't be worked out. People can't change. People can change. People do change. Relationships will go through hard moments, and they will learn from those hard moments. And those hard moments will build a great relationship. It will build a stable relationship. But a lot of us, we're trying to build a stable relationship with an unstable person or unstable people, because sometimes it's both people. We're trying to fight for a relationship that the person isn't fighting for you. Like, you're trying to fight for a person isn't fighting for you. You're throwing punches for a person that will never throw one for you or take one for you. And that's what I mean by that. Like, when it gets to that point, you got to find a way to heal, man. Like, straight up. And it's your life. And I just pray for everybody out there, man, that's going through it with their life. And just know healing is not an overnight process. It's an overtime process. I want to stress that. And don't put a timeline on your healing. Like, don't be like, okay, well, they seem healed. Like, I'm on they page and they living good. And of course, people show y'all the highlights on social media. You comparing your life to that, right? They didn't moved on. They good. And so, like, why haven't I healed yet? And you put a timeline, like, oh, it's been a year. I should be healed by now. It's been, 2 weeks. I should be healed by now. And you don't realize that healing is a process. And sometimes you don't even know that you're healing. But if you're working on becoming better, if you're working on finding yourself again, if you're working on healing yourself again, if you're doing these things, you are healing, right? Even though if you can't feel it, because you might feel like you're not, but the fact is that you are. You might not be healed yet, but just because you're not healed doesn't mean you're not healing. And that's something that I told my mom in her battle with cancer, in her journey. This not just for relationships, but in her journey. I had to tell her that and keep her focused on healing. Every single day is healing. Every single day I'm moving forward, and I'm not accepting less. I'm not selling no more. I'm healing. And then you get to a point where you be like, dang, like, that situation don't have that much power over me no more. That person, that whatever it was, my past, whatever that had so much power over me has now become powerless, right? And they lose power over time. Think about it. There's people in your life, I can guarantee you, that you thought that you could never, like, live without, I'm sure. And then, like, 30, 20 years later, 15 years, 10 years later, you don't even think about that person no more. Why? Because you moved on with your life. Right? They might cross your mind every now and then, but they're no longer controlling your life. But as long as you're staying in their control, in the environment of sickness, in the environment of pain, in the environment of hurt, where that environment can control you, right? They will always have the power over your life. Always. Right? But you have to move on, because when you disconnect, as long as there's connection, there's power. Right? That's a positive and a negative. But in this case, it's a negative connection. As long as you're connected, there's power. Right? They have the power to control you by their words. They have the power to control you by their actions, etc. But when you disconnect, when you say, okay, I'm disconnecting from this person, I'm disconnected from this situation, whatever that means to you. Maybe it's blocking somebody. Maybe it's, I don't know. Whatever that means to you, I'm disconnecting. Now, when you disconnect, it's hard for power, right, to get to you, because there's no connection there. There's no connection there. Especially in the physical, there's no connection, because it starts with the physical. Because if you're connected physically, right, in the physical, emotional, you're going to stay connected, right? So the physical, you have to disconnect, and eventually over time, emotionally, you'll start to disconnect. But as long as you stay connected in the physical, whatever that means, right? As long as you stay connected in the physical, it's a wrap. It's a wrap. I don't care how strong you are. It's a wrap. So I hope that helped y'all tonight. Let's get it.